we would love to talk to you about some of your activities off track, because you've mentioned it a few times already in this chat about your role within the karting world and kind of what you're doing to help younger aspirational drivers get into karting. Can you give us a bit of like a rundown of what that side of your life looks like?
Yes, I mean, it's tough because right now we're in a very busy period of the season, so it's hard for me to be super involved hands-on, let's say, at the track. But about 6 years ago when I was doing F2, I started up a karting team. I had an opportunity to work with a young driver who's now in Formula 3, and we set up a team based around him. It was something that I kind of always wanted to do, to give something back. And at the time, it was also a plan B, right? I didn't know if I was going to... I was doing Formula 2. I was scrimping and saving to live and just like normal stuff. I had zero money. And then I said to myself, I think at the start of 2017, I said, okay, this is my last year of trying to be a professional. And I knew that. So I said, let's not leave it too long before we get to December and you decide, okay, don't have a drive, don't have a job. So we set up this team whilst I was sort of fighting for the F2 championship. And it's grown from strength to strength. We've won British championships, European championships, world championships. It's something that I'm super passionate about. I enjoy the technical side. I enjoy giving stuff back to the kids. It's just great. Like I'm on an off weekend like this weekend and I'm just watching the live timing, watching the YouTube live, all that sort of stuff. And it's, it's just cool. It's an extra element of competitiveness. We race, 10, 11 weekends a year, and these guys race every weekend. So I'm constantly watching them, almost getting that competitive edge. If it doesn't go very well, we're on the phone on Monday morning, what can we do better? If it does go well, it's like, yeah, great job guys, and all that sort of stuff. And it's luckily now it's kind of it's sort of shaped itself into something that I don't have to be as hands-on with, and it's all ran very well behind the scenes. Okay. And then I just kind of give my inputs, advise them on where it would be. Obviously take the difficult phone calls from the parents when they're complaining that it's not good enough, but it's something that I really enjoy actually.
So it must be amazing as well, because these kids, there's already a barrier straight away just because of how competitive it is and trying to get through all the ranks in karting, but they're getting advice and guidance from someone that has lived it fairly recently in the grand scheme of things. What are some of the key things that you try and instill in them in terms of like helping them get to that point of where they can race in the likes of F3?
I think what's tricky is, right, each kid that I work with now and me, everybody's in a slightly different circumstance. Everybody has slightly different goals. Some are straight away I want to be in Formula 1, I want this, I want that, and some are like, we're just here to have fun. So it's very different what you tell them, but I think the main thing is, like, as an individual, what I always try and tell them is that, like, you just focus on doing the best you, and then everything around you will take care of itself, because that's the only thing that's really in your power. So you work hard with the data, you work hard with the team, you work hard and just focus on you, and that's where the majority of the performance comes when they're 8 to 12 anyway. And I think that then lays a good foundation for what they move on to in their next categories and stuff like that. So yeah.
Future team principal, given that you're enjoying, maybe not the awkward conversations, but you're enjoying leading things.
Yeah, it's something that I would be really interested in. I think when I was with Dams in F2, they were like, you're going to be a team principal. You could almost take this over if you want. It was just like that sort of, I can sit down with Tommaso and Dorian and have a conversation about what they're trying to achieve, and have and relatively like kind of bounce that off each other in terms of ideas as well. So it's something that I am really interested in, how to motivate people, how to get the best out of people. And it's not just the kids in the team, that's the staff that we work around, and I'm constantly learning every day as well. So I think it's definitely something that I would be interested in. There's also like management of young drivers and stuff like that, something that I already do. I think it depends where things take me, and in terms of what opportunities are going to be available when my career's done, but it's definitely something that I would like to do.
I'd love to get your opinion on how the entry, or how the junior categories are transforming. Like, do you find that there's more and more kids coming from different backgrounds now, where they can maybe come in via the sim side, or they have a lot of experience from digitally racing as opposed to working in karting? Also, the championships of the future, ultimately there's going to be more and more that are hybrid or electric or hydrogen or whatever. Is that something that you're thinking about potentially the next generation?
Yes. I think it will come, this sim side. I think it's tricky, right? Because unfortunately, the way a lot of motorsport is at the moment, especially in the junior categories, is that it requires a lot of funding, and unfortunately, it's getting more and more important how much money you have rather than how good you are.
It's becoming more like that.
Yes, okay. and I mean, if you look at budgets of Formula 4, Formula 3, Formula 2 now, they're just mind-blowing. It's not sustainable for anybody unless you have a really big backer or you've got loads of money. So it's tricky. I think what we see that's positively shifting is like the push to have like a female in a top level racing series. There's a huge amount of support from companies and from FIA and from all that sorts of thing, which is great. And it's something that I think they're doing really, really well. I think the sim side's coming because I think just to have something different, but for the average family or average boy trying to make it, there's not much opportunity to make it if you have nothing. And I think that's something that, you know, we're putting so much emphasis on so many other things, but we can't forget the root cause, and we need to try and make sure that the best kids don't get lost in the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's something that I'm passionate about, you know, like I go there to, as I said, to the track every week, and I said everybody's got different aspirations because of that sort of thing. They know only how far they can go. And I think that's something that, you know, I would love to see F1 teams, FIA, putting in place something that really like gives opportunity to people that deserves it. And I don't quite know what the answer is to that, you know, whether there's mandatory backing from a team in terms of how they're going to support and fund certain drivers and what they have to do to earn that. But I think it definitely needs looking at, because you don't always see it from the top. I see it from the bottom, you know. I get to see the struggles, and even just to do with my team, like just from a pure cost perspective, for an average family, it's not sustainable.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was keen to see. You know, I follow the previous kind of attempts at junior championships, like the Pirelli e-karting championship, you know, seeing like, does this whole electric karting world become something that then, you know, builds the next generation of electric drivers? Because especially because the cost of entry was so much lower, because there's so much less mechanical parts, you know, they had regulation tyres or spec tyres similar to Formula E, but that seems to have kind of gone away again.
I think the problem you've got with a lot of these like new ideas, I think like electric karting can be great because it'll bring a quality of engines, and that's one of the biggest costs for a driver is getting your power, and it makes the biggest difference. And unfortunately, as hard as we try, there still is a difference between the best and the worst, and then you're not ranking the kids right. So I think on that aspect, I just think that like there's so many different ideas, but when you want to, unfortunately, the benchmark championships at the moment in terms of where the top kids are, that's not based on those sorts of elements. People still want to spend, and that's when they're kind of getting away with it. So I think there's like a ladder, right, from base to here, but it needs to be in sync, so you're not switching from electric karting to then going to combustion and all that sort of stuff. It needs to be a good ladder. Almost
like two separate ladders, potentially.
I think one. I honestly think like with what electric karting would offer, it's not what any of the karting paddock would ever want to do, because they're all a bit petrol heads, you know.
Right.
But you know, I think knowing the equality that it can bring, and also the help on budget and all that sort of stuff, I think in 10 years' time it'll be where it's all at, to be honest.